It's Numbers Zone Live, powered by Sofascore here on CBS Sports Golazo, and we are talking Morocco, hosts of AFCON and betting favorites to win the tournament. Michael Lahoud, Nico Cantor, ready to get you up to speed on Morocco, a team that has set the standard, a new standard for African football, Lahoud.
Yeah, they're the dominant force in the continent of Africa, and it's hard to argue, Nico, that they're one of the dominant forces in all of world football. And we see it with trophies, championships, and players. The big thing that's going to come up here, I go back to the 2023 U23 African Cup of Nations Championship. Three big players. You have Ismail Saibari, Abde Ezzazzouli, and Bilal El Khanous playing on this current team.
Yeah, listen, the Mohammed VI training complex in Morocco has kind of set the standard to be able to revolutionize everything. And as you see here, it's not just the men's senior team, the women's senior team, it's also the youth teams. It's a grassroots movement that has reshaped and has forced other countries in Africa to rethink. And obviously, I think the greatest representation of this sudden change as to why Morocco is at the forefront of African football is this run at the World Cup into the semifinal.
You look at the teams that they played. Last time I checked, Belgium, they were a damn good team, right? The last World Cup made a good run. Spain. This was the moment I think everyone took notice, Nico, especially with beating penalties and winning penalties over Spain.
Yeah, definitely. I mean, to get to a third place match for Morocco was absolutely incredible. The way that they did it too, and obviously people are talking about Morocco more, and it's not just the way they play. They have strong results that has boosted them up the FIFA rankings. I mean, these are the African nations, the top African nations, and Morocco sits ahead of the pack.
Going back into the last World Cup, Senegal was actually 18th. Morocco was 25th in the world rankings. So it shows the gap that's closed and how they've slingshotted that much further ahead of what was supposed to be the favorites of the continent.
Yeah, and not only that they've been able to compete with the world's best, right, Morocco? So they have climbed that ranking and really set a certain distance, and that's why there's so much pressure on them to win this tournament. They started it off with a bang. It was absolutely incredible to watch. But listen, they entered this tournament with a strong win streak in their back. It ended at 19 games, and obviously a lot of these results are not only African World Cup qualifiers, they are also Arab Cup qualifiers. And I mean, the goal difference is 58-5, 14 clean sheets, pretty incredible. But we do have to kind of mention the caveat that because Arab Cup is a FIFA-sanctioned tournament, they tied 0-0 in that tournament with Oman. So this winning streak, which is a world record, by the way, ended.
Yeah, it's disappointing that we can't include everything in the numbers, but the numbers truly don't lie. The biggest thing that I see there, the 5 goals only conceded.
Yeah.
They're good in both boxes, good at scoring goals, but also a hell of a good back line.
Yeah, I mean, pretty incredible, right? Again, I think the distance between Morocco and the rest of the pack in Africa really shows their strength, and perhaps it was easier said than done, but regardless, to put 19 wins together, like wins, right? This is an unbeaten streak. This is a winning streak. So pretty incredible to see Morocco put this and beat Spain's record. So, I mean, collectively, it's awesome to watch. But you got to take it player for player, right? And obviously, the face of this all is Achraf Hakimi, who in this 2025-26 season and into current day, he's put up a season that you could argue is almost a Ballon d'Or season. In Morocco, they genuinely thought that this guy deserved Ballon d'Or. And the reality is that we're not too far off of that. And these are just key passes, right, amongst all club competitions for a player like Achraf Hakimi in that position. But the touches in the box, the possessions won in the final third. He's a very offensive player, and his numbers prove that he's arguably not only just one of the best fullbacks in the world, but one of the best players in the world, Lahoud.
Yeah, I'm very high on him. I know you and I both have been waxing poetic and waxing lyrical. Of all the things that I see, the touches in the box is one thing, but it's winning possession higher up the field that cannot be matched by any other fullback. He is the best fullback in the world, and by far one of the top 5 most influential players in world football right now.
Yeah, definitely. Hopefully we see him in AFCON and he comes back healthy and in injury. But it's not just him.
No, it isn't. This is a Morocco side that are stacked with talent. And this was the lineup against Comoros where there were some question marks over who was going to start. Mazraoui, who plays for Manchester United, Aguirre, who plays for Marseille. But in the midfield, that is where I think you're going to see the quality, and you saw the quality. Brahim Diaz, man of the match performance, getting his first AFCON goal. But the big conversation was up top over the strikers. Sofiane Brahimi, who was the standout at the Olympics last summer, disappointing, missed a penalty, and then they had some quality off the bench to finish it off with Ayoub El Kaabi.
Yeah, they definitely did. And mind you, Hamza Igamani, who would have probably started this game not healthy yet, but you do look at that talent. I want to throw El Ainaoui in here, but I mean Brahim Diaz, El Hanous also, who's a young up-and-coming star. Sofiane Amrabat, we know about these players and their quality. You have a couple of pillars here and there, but this is a very deep pool of Moroccan players.
There's two things that make Morocco stand out above all else. It's the pride and the passion that comes when these players put on the national team jersey, much like we see with some of the top teams in the world, and it's the quality in depth. At halftime, you look at the roster, you have the likes of Youssef El Nassiri, who's a two-time Europa League winner, on the bench for Morocco. You have Ayoub El Kaabi, who's won a European trophy, and so much more. And speaking of El Kaabi, I'm really high on El Kaabi, not just because he scored what will be the goal of the tournament. It was the emphatic nature of it, and it was a player who went to his manager to say, I deserve to be the number 9 for the national team. 75 goals for Olympiacos. He's got 23 goals in European competitions alone, Nico. He is a star on the rise.
I mean, he arguably scored, in my opinion, the most important club goal in Greek football history, right? That the winner in the Europa Conference League for Olympiacos. And I mean, these are just the stats this season, but like you mentioned, it is a countless amount of goals that he has scored at Olympiacos that has carried a lot of weight. But let's move beyond the goal scorers, because Morocco has plenty of them. They also have great playmakers who also get a lot of goals. And Ismail Saibari has really burst onto the scene, not only for the Moroccan national team, but for PSV as well.
Yeah, his manager, Peter Bosz, said this about him after he scored a hat-trick against Feyenoord, their arch rivals. He said he was the most special player he's seen in a long, long time. High praise for a manager that's managed some of the most special players in his tenure.
All right, so we put all of these things together, and let's fast forward to the World Cup. Obviously, the cart comes before the horse, but let's just imagine under Regragui where this team could be. Obviously, this man that got hired just a couple of games before the World Cup during a crisis for Moroccan football has taken this team to new heights and earned his credibility. But here comes a massive test. 4 years since he took over. Now he's going to have to debut the World Cup against Brazil in New Jersey.
If you're Brazil, if you're Carlo Ancelotti, be afraid. Be very, very afraid, because with Brazil, there's still a work in progress. I back Morocco to actually shock the world and beat Brazil on match day 1 because of their depth, because of their quality, but because they can also defend. They can go toe-to-toe with anyone, as you said, and I think they will put Brazil right in the deer headlights and take the win.
Yeah, definitely. Look, I think Brazil, if they have an off day, Morocco can beat them. I wonder what type of Brazil we're going to get. I mean, anybody, I feel at this point, can go toe-to-toe. Senegal went toe-to-toe. Japan went toe-to-toe and beat Brazil at the moment. I just don't know what type of Brazil we're going to get. In fact, Morocco already beat Brazil in a friendly right after the 2022 World Cup. Obviously, the context is a little bit different. So we want to know what you guys think, by the way. If you're watching on YouTube, give us your thoughts in the comments. We'll be reading them throughout all of our coverage here on Golazo.net. But Morocco has the potential to top this group, to go through without a shadow of a doubt. But that first game will set the tone for the World Cups for not only Morocco, but for Brazil as well. Could you imagine Brazil, first game in, losing?
Oh my gosh, that would set the internet, probably break the internet, break all TV stations, but not CBS Sports Net. That is it from us here. The numbers definitely never lie. Welcome into CBS Sports Presents Numbers Don't Lie, powered by Sofascore, where we talk the biggest names in the biggest games and also the biggest teams. And there's no team bigger right now in terms of form than Aston Villa. Up the villains, they say in Birmingham. Michael Lahoud here with Nico Cantor. Nico, how impressed have you been with Aston Villa?
Pretty impressed. I mean, consider their start to the Premier League season, and let's erase that start. So let's imagine the Premier League started on match day 6. Villa would be top of the table. And I mean, still, if you give them odds to win, they're only 3% chance of winning the entire thing. So if you could just imagine them, they have gotten off to a good start, I think they'd be in a much better position than just 3% chance to win the whole thing.
Look, I'm a big fan of Unai Emery. I'm so tempted to believe in them, and I know people back at Villa Park are going to question why I doubt this, because they have a big run of matches. Chelsea coming up, Arsenal coming up. That's why I'm pumping the brakes a bit. But you had mentioned it. When the season started, Nico, it wasn't looking good. They couldn't even find where the goal was. I mean, scoreless in 4 matches to start the season. They go to the Sunderland match, but after match day 5, look at what's happened.
I mean, night and day difference, right? They found their form. They found the music to their football. And it's incredible to see the rise, because it's not only in this competition, it's in all competitions. But let's just consider the Premier League. It's a 7-game Premier League winning streak, 10 games in all competitions. To win 7 games in a row on the bounce in the Prem is not that common. It's actually quite impressive to put 7 wins back to back to back. And if you roll back the clock on the last several seasons, only a handful of teams have done it. In fact, last season, nobody did it.
Yeah, it's incredible to see the company now you start getting into when you're putting win streaks together. Anytime you're in the company of Manchester City, that usually means trophies, Premier League trophies. Arsenal have gotten so close. Liverpool, we know what happened that season. Injuries wiped out what it could have been something very special. Now, for Aston Villa, should they keep this up? Are they Premier League title contenders?
Oh, it's a really good question. I think it's between Arsenal and Manchester City. Still, there's one glaring stat, and it's this one. Aston Villa is second on XG over performance, right? They're scoring more goals than they're expected to. Manchester City's on here, but the caveat is that they have a freak XG over performer, which is Haaland. And Haaland is probably responsible for a massive amount of this. I know that I can deposit a lot of faith in Haaland scoring more goals than he's supposed to. Teams in the last couple of seasons that have won the Premier League, their XG over performance at best is like 3, only a couple goals. So in theory, right, this isn't sustainable. In theory, this isn't a winning formula for a Premier League season. Yeah,
I'm excited to see how they manage in the bigger games they have coming up, because when you're winning games, when you put together a win streak, when you're playing out of your skin in terms of XG, teams tend to hone in on you. As I said, looking at the schedule, big games coming up, Premier League title contending, imprint sort of big games. But when we talk about Aston Villa, one of the players that we have to talk about is Morgan Rogers. Against Manchester United, Morgan Rogers was the best player in terms of finishing, the best player in terms of impact. And I didn't think he had his best game, but he's definitely having his best moment. And I think a star has been born at Villa Park, and a star turned into potentially a global star. We think of Morgan Rogers. And the numbers definitely don't lie. His 2 goals were worldy strikes, but look at the expected goals. Very, very difficult to do what he did with .065. I mean, it's 7 shots, 3 on target, led the way for Aston Villa. But Nico, when we look at Morgan Rogers, what is your thoughts on him about where the ceiling is, given what he's already done? I
mean, like you say, it wasn't his best game, but I think this is going to be like the poster of Morgan Rogers' 2005-2026 season. We're going to be showing those goals against Manchester United a lot. You saw the heat map there, and it wasn't like Aston Villa played the greatest game in this win streak. Actually, they were all right. I think they actually could have been a little bit better, but this guy has been key in this run. You look at his goal involvements, they've been pretty important, and it's funny because in not his best game, he got his best goals. So I don't think that one game is representative of how good he's been this beyond the goal involvement.
And so he's been an absolute heater. We see contributed to 9 goals in this win streak, but he has to be in the conversation for Premier League Player of the Season if Aston Villa were to win the Premier League title. No, we're going to see the numbers that back it up of what he's turning water into wine right now, because when you look at overperforming your XG, Nico, he's top of the list. And I know Richarlison, who scores worldies of his own, is right up there, but Ekitike, a good player. These two for Manchester City, a big reason why City have turned it around.
Yeah, definitely. And now my question is Morgan Rogers good enough to sustain this? Is he good enough to score goals that he's not supposed to score for the entire Premier League season? And it's so much so it's incredible. It's like almost like Harry Kane numbers. Again, I know Harry Kane can overperform his XG because he's that good, right? I know Haaland can do it. I was actually surprised that Phil Foden is right there neck and neck with Haaland for XG overperformers, but this is in the top 5 leagues. He just sits behind Harry Kane. So if Villa are to be title contenders, like you say, Lahoud, Morgan Rogers needs to sustain this or have a partner that's able to be at his level in terms of goal scoring, because Ollie Watkins hasn't been it.
Yeah.
Is it going to be someone that they're going to go get in the winter transfer window? I don't know, but they're on to something. I can't write them. I can't write them off. I see how they're playing. I mean, they're on a 10-game win streak. Of course, I'm not going to write them off.
Yeah.
But there's something in my mind that tells me it's great, but it's not enough just yet.
Well, we're going to get into the meat of the conversation, why everyone is tuning into this, because Villa is one thing, but we have to project to the big dance coming up, the World Cup next summer, and we have to talk about England. So I'm going to tee up this. Is Morgan Rogers good enough with what he's doing right now to start for England over Jude Bellingham?
Ooh. If you had to say right now because of form, yes, of course, Morgan Rogers, I would play him right now, but it's not about right now. It's about who you trust in the biggest moment for your national team. And although Morgan Rogers is hot at the moment, Jude Bellingham has a wealth of experience. He's a player that attributes so many facets of his game to the successes of his teams. He's a natural-born leader. So if you ask me for my opinion, Jude Bellingham would be my pick to start at the World Cup. But obviously, Morgan Rogers gives you something different, and at the moment, it feels like he's the trendy man to pick for Tuchel's squad in a starting 11.
Yeah, I'm a big fan of Morgan Rogers, and for all the intangibles that you give Jude, I think having the manager's trust, and I remember this as a player, you're only as good as a manager that trusts you. And given some of his performances, and these are good companies. Marcus Rashford's having an excellent season with Barcelona.
Yeah.
He's having a better season in terms of what he's done recently. Is that Jude down there? He needs to pick it up, Nico. Phil Foden as well. He's back in the conversation for the England camp. But don't sleep on Mason Greenwood. If they were to gamble, I don't think they do, to bring him back in the camp.
Again, the y-axis aren't goals that you score. I mean, if we're really looking at just goals and assists, they're almost at the same level, right? He's just overperforming those goals. So it's not like he's lacking Jude Bellingham. And beyond goals and assists, I do think that he gives you many intangibles in leadership qualities that you want on a national team.
So at the end of the day, we've given where we stand, but we want to turn it over to you guys. You tell us who should start for England next summer, Morgan Rogers or Jude Bellingham? And always remember, the numbers as you see never lie.
Hey, thanks for watching this video from Numbers Don't Lie. Be sure to catch our show every Monday at 5 p.m. on YouTube. And for news and insights from leagues all around the world, including Serie A, EFL, and all UEFA competitions, both men's and women's, don't forget to sign up for Paramount+.